Lesson 80, direct variation as a ratio and inverse variation as a ratio. All right, we've talked about direct and inverse problems before. This is A equals K times B. But instead of using that formula, we're going to look at another way to solve this problem. So for the first one, direct variations. All right, instead of using the formula A equals KB for a direct variation, we're going to set it up as a ratio. All right, comparing A's to A's and B's to B's. All right, so for a direct variation, we're going to use the formula A1 over A2 equals B sub 1 over B sub 2. All right, and we're going to insert numbers that way. Okay, keep in mind, in order to solve a ratio, we cross, multiply, and divide. All right, so to solve a ratio, cross, multiply, and divide. All right, go ahead and take just a moment to copy down the example. All right, the example says A varies directly as B. If A equals 50 when B is 5, what is the value of A when B is 7? All right, instead of plugging this into the A equals KB formula, solving for K and substituting it back in, we're just going to set up a simple ratio. All right, so go ahead and copy that down. Again, A varies directly as B. If A equals 50 when B is 5, what is the value of A when B is 7? All right, we're going to use the formula A sub 1 over A sub 2 equals B sub 1 over B sub 2. All right, so our first value for A is 50, and our first value for B is 5. We're solving for what A is when B is 7. All right, we could either cross multiply or divide, or in this case, 5 goes into 50 10 times. So in order to get from 5 to 50, I multiply by 10. So I could also do 7 times 10, which would mean that x is 70. Or I could cross multiply and divide. 50 times 7 would give me 350. 350 divided by 5 is also 70. All right, so we're solving that variation problem using a ratio. All right, these aren't too difficult, so this is the only example we're going to do. The next one I want you to do on your own. So go ahead and take a minute, pause the video if you need to copy this problem down. I do want it copied down in your notes so that you have something to refer back to. All right, and then go ahead and try to solve it. Cost varies directly as the number purchased. If 12 can be purchased for $78, how much would 42 cost? All right, so go ahead and pause the video, work this one out in your notes, and when you're ready to move on, go ahead and hit play. All right, now that you solved the second example for direct variations, let's talk about inverse variations. All right, for an inverse variation, we have been using the formula A equals K over B. Instead, we're going to set up a ratio. Now, look at this ratio carefully. All right, we have A sub 1 over A sub 2, which is just like direct variations. But because it's inverse, we are going to invert the B values. So it's B sub 2 over B sub 1. Keep that in mind for inverse variations. Okay, A values stay the same, but our B values are inverted. All right, so let's look at the second example. Go ahead and write this down in your notes. Blues vary inversely as yellows squared. If 100 blues go with 2 yellows, how many blues go with 10 yellows? All right, go ahead and copy that down in your notes again. Blues vary inversely as yellows squared. If 100 blues go with 2 yellows, how many blues go with 10 yellows? All right, we are going to again use our inverse variation ratio formula. A sub 1 over A sub 2 equals B sub 2 over B sub 1. All right, let's start plugging in values. I'm going to call my blues A. All right, so blues varies inversely as yellows squared. I have 100 blues, so my first A value is 100. It varies inversely with yellows squared. All right, so where my B1 spot is, I'm going to be doing yellows squared. Now there's 2 yellows, and we're going to square that. Okay, notice this is my A1 value, this is my B1 value. All right, now we're looking for the number of blues, so we're looking for our A2 value. Go with 10 yellows. All right, And again, this is yellow squared, so it's going to be 10 squared. All right, again, the x is my a2 value, the 10 squared is my b2 value. All right, now we can solve. If I simplify those squares, I get 100 over 4. All right, this is an exact proportion, so since 100 equals 100, x has to equal 4. So there are actually 4 blues when there are 10 yellows. All right. Again, since these aren't anything extremely new, I'm going to go ahead and have you do this second example by yourself. Take a moment, copy it in your notes, make sure it's copied in your notes. Cost varies inversely as the number purchased. If 15 can be purchased for $225, how much would 42 cost? All right, again, this is an inverse variation. You can either solve it by cross multiplying and dividing, solve it as a ratio, but go ahead and copy this in your notes and solve this, and we will check it in class tomorrow.